Hey, everybody, it is game week. The week that we've been counting down for 40 weeks is finally here. Dave McCann, Blaine Fowler, we're the wise guys. The depth chart's out. The Southern Illinois Salukis are booking their plans for Provo, and we got a whole lot of stuff to talk about. Can you believe it? We made it.
We made it to game week.
We made it to game week.
With a little help from a crazy offseason in basketball and all that. The summer doldrums didn't seem like summer doldrums, but now it's game week.
I'm going to predict our live stream will be hopping tonight because Cougar Nation is now fully engaged, and we welcome you to Wise Guys, presented by Brady Plus, the #1 global live stream BYU sports show in the whole world. Our popular podcast is out tomorrow. You can get it wherever you get podcasts, but tonight is all about right now, Monday, game week, as we say hello to Ridgecrest, California, always right out of the gate. Vegas is here, Farmington, Utah, Deweyville, Utah.
Mark,
here we go.
Don't be ashamed of Bountiful, Mark.
No.
Actually, he says that one day I'll be able to check in from a fancier location than Bountiful.
Tucson's in the house.
Hey, one of the great freshmen on this BYU football team's a Bountiful guy. Falitau.
Yeah.
Satawala, who's really, like, my opinion, after watching them all fall, is going to be an NFL starting outside linebacker.
Wow.
So he's from Bountiful, so be proud of Bountiful.
You may see him on Saturday night.
Yeah.
Hey, subscribe to us, please, on YouTube. Just hit the subscribe button. It's free. It'll help us grow the show. You can sign up for our free newsletter at wiseguys.com. Perth, Australia, early in the house today. Timothy, good to have you with us. And let's see, we got Howard from Cape Lisburn, Alaska.
Has Alaska been in the house before?
Howard's been with us.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
I know about Cape Lisburn, Alaska, Howard, but great to have Alaska here.
Great to have all of you in here. Hey, and remember to subscribe. If you do subscribe, you get the weekly email.
Yeah.
Which gives you updates and highlights and all of that. And make sure you go check out the site where you're going to subscribe, wiseguys.com, because 2.5 years worth of interviews are in there, and some of the best ones ever. So
many.
I had 7 of BYU's defensive backs over for dinner last night.
Oh, yeah?
And I was telling them about our interview with Brandon Fugel in the Skinwalker Ranch. Because remember, Micah was on the show that night.
That's right.
And Micah was intrigued by it all and said that he wanted to do a team builder and take the defensive backs out to Skinwalker Ranch and see all this crazy stuff, right?
See what they could see.
But I have to tell you, the consensus from the guys at the dinner table last night was they don't have anything to do with it. They're scared. Like, no, we don't want to see that stuff.
I don't think
Micah's intrigued. The rest of them don't want to see it. So
no, they don't want.
But go ahead, go listen to that interview from Brandon Fugel, and then the list of folks that you can, if you missed an episode, that guest list is amazing, and just the.
It's a who's who.
Yeah, it's a who's who of BYU, and not just sports. It's a who's who of BYU.
That should be a theme.
Who's who of BYU? Yeah, well, that's what it is.
That is now. It's now a theme.
Yes.
Brady Plus is our title sponsor. Brady Plus provides cleaning, food service, and packaging equipment, dispensers, and service and repairs with over 150 distribution facilities across the country and over 6,000 employees. With nearly 1 million impressions a month, Wise Guys is growing. Brady Plus is helping us do it. The Brady name is synonymous with BYU sports, especially on BYU TV. Once known as Brady Industries for a long time, but they've expanded, and now it's Brady Plus, and we are thrilled to have them on the Wise Guys on one of our biggest shows of the year. I mean, it really is. It's the last blast before the big blast.
Yeah, this is it. This is it.
So on tonight's show, we'll preview Saturday night's opener. We're going to hear a few minutes from Kalani Sitake, what he told the media today, and we're going to discuss that whole starting quarterback thing.
Yeah. And then how about the 50th anniversary? We told you this was going to happen this year. A couple of celebrations happening during the football season. First of all, it's the 100th year of BYU football, and it's the 50th anniversary of the first bowl team. And that means that Gary Sheide and Larry Carr are going to be in the house with us tonight. They're from that 1974 team that took BYU to its first bowl game ever. Among all the changes since then, we're going to ask them what has surprised them the most. What's the most different about this program?
I just looked over there and saw Sheide in turquoise shorts.
Gary's in the house.
He's in the house.
Gary's in the house. So, and Larry going to be joining him pretty quick. So
yeah, and we're going to have a fun conversation
best
with
offensive player on that 74 team and the best defensive player on that 74 team.
We only aim for, it's a who's who.
It's like if we're going to bring a couple of guys on, they have to be the best at what they did. And so we got the best from both sides of the ball that are joining us here in just a little bit. And that's going to be a fun celebration this season, 50th anniversary. The other thing they're celebrating is the 40th anniversary of the national championship team.
Right.
That 1984 team. So pretty fun season. 100 years, 50 years, and 40 years, all going to be celebrated this year.
Andrew is in from Alaska, our second Alaskan here tonight. Russell from Covina, California. Good to have you with us. And I love our live stream. Missouri, Northwest Louisiana. Seth hops in as we're
Northwest
speaking.
Missouri from Seth Jones.
Yeah, Northwest Missouri. Let's talk about opening night. It's Saturday night against Southern Illinois. The Salukis are ranked number 11 in the FCS preseason poll. They went to the playoffs last year, took second place. Before we get to them, let's get to us. And the depth chart was announced earlier today. The starting quarterback is Jake Retzlaff or Gary Bohannon. That's how the depth chart reads. You can read anything you want into that. We've had both on this show. We've had weeks where we thought one has moved ahead of the other, and they've literally gone back and forth. And today they're going to continue to go back and forth as far as what the coaches want the general public to know. And they said, hey, look, on Saturday night, when game day comes on the air, you'll know who the quarterback is.
And Kalani didn't rule out the idea that they both play. And we've talked about that for a couple weeks. I have to say, the depth chart, when it came out, there's not a single surprise on here. Not one. Is there a surprise? There's not. When we've been talking about it for weeks, there's not a single
There's
surprise
a whole lot of ors.
Yeah.
Like this guy or this guy. This guy or this guy.
Yeah,
Which
and
screams
you know
depth.
what? When they say this or, even if you just take the guy that's the first or, I'm not surprised by any of it. It's who we thought would be in those positions come game one. We've been talking an awful lot about Tanner Wall the last couple weeks now. He just came out of nowhere, maybe the MVP on defense during fall camp. The biggest surprise, I think, and he's listed not as an or. He's starting at free safety, and he's earned that during fall camp. The 6'1", 200-pound redshirt junior has been the most assignment sound, and he's just been smacking people silly. Like, the guy's physical when the offensive guys are all talking about it. And they're talking like, what's up with Tanner Wall? Why is he trying to kill everybody? So let's hope he doesn't to the other team.
Why is he trying to kill everybody? Hey, let's see. Greg from Southern California has hopped on the stream. Isaac from Weatherford, Texas. And Ole Olson from North Carolina. So we are scanning the country already. And we're in Australia. We've got that. We're still waiting for our international
where's our Panama crew?
Folks to come in.
Colorado just came into the house. Roger, thanks for joining us.
It's like election night. We just have the results coming in.
The election results come in. We always hold our breath for Panama to get in the house. For the Philippines is pretty reliable to come into the house.
Yeah.
We know Corey's been traveling out, so Japan's been on and off, but maybe we get Corey Yoshimura in the house.
Or someone else over there. Yeah, there's BYU alums everywhere.
Corey needs to recruit some more people so that when he's traveling with the Asian PGA Tour, somebody else from Japan can check in with us.
Let me ask you about this quarterback situation. Then we got the forecast. We're going to hear from Kalani in a second before Gary Sheide and Larry Carr sit down with us in just a bit. If it's Retzlaff or if it's Bohannon, what's the difference come Saturday night against Southern Illinois? Is there one?
There's a little bit of a difference in emphasis probably. If it's Jake, Jake is more familiar with the offense. He ran the offense. He's been here for an entire year. Yeah. Actually a spring ball in a year, and 2 spring balls in a year, and played in 4 games. So he's more familiar with the offense. I think you can throw more at him. I think he's very adept at getting the team in and out of huddles, knowing where everybody's supposed to be, getting guys set up and running the offense efficiently. So I think you can do more things, more formations, motions, that kind of stuff. Jake is athletic, so he can run around, but I think you do more straight drop back stuff. When Gary's in the game, and let's say they play them both, when Gary's in the game, I think you'll see RPO, so run pass option type stuff and zone read type stuff with Jake, but you'll see more of it if Gary's in the game because it's 6'2" and 235. Well, he's 225 pounds. It lists him. I think he's 230, and one of the fastest guys on the team. he becomes one of the biggest running threats on the field when he's in the game. Yeah. And I think you'll see them move him around even in the passing game. So get him on the edge, roll him out, bootlegs, those kinds of things. So I think the emphasis is a little different. It's the same offense with a little different emphasis depending on who's in the game.
I wouldn't be surprised if on the second possession, whoever doesn't start comes in.
That could happen.
And why not? And if there was a night to try that out, try it out against Southern Illinois.
Yeah. Or maybe you give the first guy a quarter and then say, hey, you're getting reps in the second quarter to whoever the second guy is.
Yeah.
It's interesting because they haven't even talked to the team about it, like who's going to be the guy. And Kalani and Aaron have said, we have an idea who it is, but
and Chase Roberts said,
why do we need to announce it?
He said in the media avails today that he thought the receivers kind of knew, but if anyone would know the rotations of what they're seeing, it would probably be those receivers.
Yeah, they would.
But they're seeing a little bit of everybody, and we're not trying to sandbag because we asked Kalani the same questions.
Right.
They just don't want to announce who it's going to be until game day, and we'll find out. By the way, mostly sunny on Saturday, high of 87, low of 62. That's like ideal for the end of August, because 87 is probably when we come on the air at 4 o'clock.
That's right.
But
I hope we have some cooling fans behind us.
Down near kickoff.
See, the nice part about this show is I can wear shorts, but we can't wear shorts at that show.
No, we've got some obligations. Live stream, folks, who do you think should be the quarterback as Drummond, Montana comes in? Scott and Elaine Mackey from Drummond. Who do you think should be the quarterback on Saturday? Who are you hoping it'll be? The Cougars are a 14-point favorite. That's the latest I've seen.
It started as a 16.5.
And then it was even higher in some places.
And then went down.
And they came down. No one knows the quarterback, and so they're going it's going to be a low-scoring defensive game or whatever.
Yeah. Luke Jardine. So Mark Actual says, Jake. Luke Jardine says, I hope it's Gary Bohannon.
And how about Robbie saying,
let's keep it a secret
until we score. That's a good strategy. By the way, the Cougars going to be in all royal helmets, royal shirts, royal pants with the white trim and the white face mask. It'll be the first time that they've ever put this combination together. We've seen them all in royals, but it'll be royals with the face mask.
That's right.
And so that's going to be the look under the lights on Saturday. I guess the sunlight will be at 6 o'clock kick, so the lights will have kicked in by halftime.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And, we had some guys that wore white face masks with royal uniforms, but not with a royal helmet as well.
Right.
So this is the first time that it's all 100% royal with white trim and white face mask, and everybody's going to be uniform in these uniforms. One
thing we get on a Monday is the head coach addresses the media.
Right.
And so we're going to have sprinklings of that throughout the whole season with players and coaches. But let's listen to Kalani Sitake. Here's what he had to say in his first media avail of the brand new season.
Yeah, really excited for game week. It's here. It seemed like it was a long ways away when we first started camp. Really proud of the way our guys performed in camp and the way the coaches and the players handled the difficulty of camp. And I think we got through it the way we wanted to. I think we were really physical, aggressive, and even with our practices, we were able to do that. And the guys worked extremely hard in the off season. Since January, they've been working, and it's paid off, and it shows. And I'm excited for them to put it on the field come Saturday night. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Really happy with the guys, and you guys pretty much just really excited about the opportunity to go against SIU. I think looking at the opponents, I mean, this is a lot of people don't know about them as an FCS program, but they're a powerhouse at FCS level. Nick Hill's a really good head coach. Have a lot of respect for him. He's actually a guy that's going into his 9th year as a head coach, just like I am. He's coaching at his alma mater. So I know how he feels about coaching his alma mater, me doing the same. But if you look at the things that he's done as a coach and how his players play, I think it's a huge compliment to him and his staff and able to get their team ready to go. And the dangerous team, they've the last 2 years, a couple years ago they beat Northwestern, and last year they beat Northern Illinois. So I believe in their history as FCS program, they've won 6 games against FBS opponents, and 5 of them, their head coach, Nick Hill, has been attached to that, 3 as a coach and 2 as a player. So they're not going to be coming in here very shy. I think they're going to come in here with excitement and energy to try to get a win, and we're excited about it. We want to make sure that we give them our best shot when they arrive here in Provo. But watching their team, been connected with, I've met and talked with their defensive coordinator and seeing their coaching staff, really good group. And it all starts with their head coach, but their players play well. They're well coached, tough team, never give up, and so they've had a lot of success. Went to the playoffs last year and lost in an overtime game to Idaho. It was a close game, and you could tell these guys, they love the game of football. So I have a lot of respect for their program, a lot of respect for their players. I know they got some turnover and getting some guys going, but what you know with consistency that they have in their coaching staff with their head coach, that they'll be able to get their guys ready to go, and we'll get their best shot Saturday. We just got to make sure that they get ours. So
that's Kalani Sitake from earlier today addressing the media as we kick off game week. The very first question after that comment was, hey, who's going to be the starting quarterback? And he said, you'll find out on Saturday.
That's right.
But this is also way all coaches start these things, is by talking about how good the other team is and the challenge they are, and for BYU fans who might be going, well, he's talking about an FCS team, but BYU's lost 5 straight games. They're in no position to go, I think we got this one. We're gonna work on them, and then half the week we're gonna start on SMU. I think they got to go all in, because the worst possible thing could be having lost 6 straight games.
To go to
by
SMU.
Losing on Saturday, go to SMU.
And here's the thing: this is an FCS program. When you start to read about Southern Illinois, you go, "Wow, they've just had a lot of turnover." And they, but this is what you talked about. Nick Hill. Nick Hill's been doing this at the FCS level for a long time now, for 9 years. He's had tremendous success at that level. That's why, with all that turnover, they're still ranked number 11 in the preseason poll, because they know he's used to turnover. This is what he does. He brings people in. Now, remember, this is a team that has 9 FBS transfers that have come in during the offseason. 4 of these are Power 4 transfers. They got a DB from Florida, a DB from Illinois, a running back from Ohio State, and a wide receiver from Wisconsin. So these are big-time players. Some of these guys played at those universities and just want to maybe come be a star and be the feature. And so he's done a great job every year of taking transfers from both the FBS and FCS level and molding them into a team very quickly. That's why there's so much respect here. Having said that, they've got big shoes to fill.
Yeah.
I mean, BYU's unsettled at quarterback, but at least Jake played last year 4 games, and Gary's been he was a P5 at the time, but P4 starter, and won a Sugar Bowl and won a Big 12 championship. Their starting quarterback has started 37 straight games, and he graduated.
6 years. We wish him the best.
Yeah, that's a very comfortable position to be in, to have a guy coming back every year.
Yeah.
And this year, for the first time in a long time, they're unsettled at quarterback.
I would think
they've got a new guy.
We're going to get your keys in a second, but I would think BYU would pounce on them defensively, and that may be the case. But defense is where the Salukis have been really good.
Yeah.
And they lost 6 guys from last year's group, but every year they seem to be pretty good.
Philosophically, Nick has a really good handle on what he wants to do defensively. They have an identity. They're really physical. And so they just reload every year. Having said that, they only have 4 starters coming back on the defensive side of the ball. Yeah. And one of those starters, they're counting, didn't play at all last year because of an injury. So they're counting. They really only have 3 starters from last year's team. That team was one of the top defenses in the FCS, ranked as high as 4 in a bunch of different categories. And so you just can count on them play. It's kind of like Kyle Whittingham. When Kyle Whittingham has wholesale changes at Utah, you go, well, they're still going to be good on defense. When are they not good on defense, right?
Yeah.
But the 4 starters, 2 are safeties, and 1 is a linebacker. The cornerback is the one that sat out last year. So it's really all in the back end. So a completely new defensive line. On the offensive side, 6 starters. But here's an interesting thing. If you're going to have 6 starters back, you wish you had your quarterback back, but you don't. They have 4 of their 5 offensive linemen back from last year. A really productive offensive line. They're big and physical, all over 300 pounds. They'll match up pretty good size-wise with BYU, which isn't always the case when you play an FCS opponent. But 1 wide receiver and 1 tight end.
And depth is usually what separates
all
the
new
FCS.
backfield.
Yeah.
All new backfield, new running backs, new quarterback. Most of the wide receivers group is new. As mentioned, they have some transfer that have come in. But what do I expect out of them? I expect them to be, even though they only have really 3 returning starters on defense, I just expect them to be solid defensively.
Last year in the FCS, they were number 4 in total defense, number 4 in scoring defense, number 5 in rushing defense, and number 7 in pass efficiency defense. A challenge for any offense that's trying to figure itself out. And that's kind of where BYU is. But on the other side, they were 74th in total offense, 61st in scoring offense, 19th in rushing offense. And again, their quarterback's gone, their running back's gone. It should be a typical decent FCS team that comes in, and if you give them the football, they're going to take you into the second half.
Right.
And Montana State went into Albuquerque and rallied from 17 down and beat Broncos Lobos. But if you give a team some help, anyone could beat anybody.
Right.
But pound for pound and line for line, this should be the opportunity for BYU to work out some kinks and to get ready for SMU. I mean, in theory, that's what this should be.
BYU should be bigger, stronger, faster,
deeper
at almost every position on the field, especially when you start to go to the second level.
Now, let me ask you the Cougar Board question of the week before we get your keys to the game. If you're not familiar with the Cougar Board, it's the largest online community of BYU fans. Thousands of posts daily. This comes from Coug Fan Blue, one of their inside subscribers. Regardless of the score, what are the biggest question marks you're wanting answered Saturday that will signal what kind of season we're in for? This isn't necessarily keys to the game, which are coming here.
And there's some crossover, right?
What do you want to see? And I'll just say the obvious, because I write about it this week in the Deseret News. It's you want to see the offensive line and the defensive line control the line of scrimmage, because that was the beginning of all the trouble last year was up front, and it surfaced early and it never got better. So they spent so much time, changed out coaches in some cases to fix that. So I don't even know what that means. So does that mean a 15-yard run every time you touch the ball? No.
It means 4.5-yard average. But against these guys, you want a 6-yard average.
Maybe it means what Georgia Tech did to Florida State in their ability to move the ball on the ground, where it was just, hey, you're going up against good guys, we're better than you today, and you're getting those 6 yards a pop.
And we talked about this a lot last year, because I would agree with you that the key is how they play up front. But it's not about, hey, can BYU be more physical because BYU was plenty physical last year. Every time BYU struggled to run the ball or struggled to stop the run, and we'd say, gosh, what's happening here? What is going on? Why can they not hold the line of scrimmage? We'd go back and watch the film after the game and go, this isn't even physical. It's not physical. They didn't get pushed around in any game last year. They really struggled to be assignment sound, to be gap sound on defense. And on the offensive side, they had way too many free players, unblocked guys in the front. Guys just not knowing who to take. Going in the zone and not communicating, letting somebody run free. And so they have negative plays in the offense that was short-circuit drives. So we watched that and we said, wow, that should be fixable, right? You would hope fixable during the year. But as you mentioned, some of the changes that were made, the emphasis in spring ball and in this fall camp has been being assignment sound on both sides of the ball up front, making sure these offensive linemen not only know where they're supposed to go, but they're so comfortable with it and who they have that they play at full speed and take advantage of this massive frames that they all have. Then defensively, really good group of linebackers, but making sure in year 2 of Jay Hill's defense that these linebackers are now in the mode that they play a single gap and they play downhill and they play at the line of scrimmage, and that the defensive linemen know which gap they have and they get upfield and they hold that gap. Because that was the problem they had. When they couldn't stop their run last year, they weren't where they were supposed to be. So that's what I want to know. Can the offensive line play not error-free, but close to error-free, so there's running lanes and this team can average? I'd like to see them average 6 yards a carry against this team. And then I think that'll set up the pass game. My next question is, whichever quarterback plays, can they take care of the football?
Yeah.
Because you can't turn the ball over, and there were a lot of mistakes made in those last 4 games when Jake was playing, and mishandling the ball and forcing the ball into places that he shouldn't. He was really good in spring ball and in the fall with that. Gary was really good here in the fall with that. So I want to see the quarterbacks take care of the ball. I want to see them establish the run game. And on defense, I want to see them be so assignment sound that Southern Illinois can't run the football.
Yeah.
That they can't run the football.
I want to see all those things.
So those are the three things I'm looking for. Don't even care what the score is. If they can shut the run down completely and be assignment sound, if they take care of the football and BYU can establish a run game and look dominant in the run game, that's really what I'm looking for.
Ross is in on the live stream from Boerne, Texas. I've been to Boerne on my mission.
Wow.
Boyd Lake has an interesting comment. Neither QB is a team captain? ? I think that's a failure of waiting so long to name a starter. We should say, Boyd, that they're on the executive committee. Both quarterbacks were voted.
They call them co-captains.
On their co-captains. So they're not the big four, we'll call it, the main captains, but they were both voted by their teammates to like the next level of captainship. And so while you make a valid point, and they have waited a long time to publicly name a starter, the relationship with the players, and we've been around it and we've seen it, both those guys are good. They're good with the guys.
And when should a quarterback that really has never been a starter be a captain?
Yeah.
Like 1984, our offensive captains were
Glenn Kozlowski
and Craig Garrick.
Yeah.
Two guys that have been starting
Not Bosco.
Two guys that have been starting for a couple of years.
Interesting.
Now, the next year, Robbie was a captain because he was a returning starter at quarterback.
Yeah.
So
that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't think your quarterback has to be your captain, especially if he's not a returning starter and hasn't been there and hasn't proven, so.
All right, here's Blaine's keys to the game. Every week we're going to roll out 3 keys to the game, and then we'll follow up the following week. We'll probably have this sponsored by somebody big, because who wouldn't want to be involved with your keys to the game?
Yes.
All right, key number 1
my key number
for
1,
Saturday night.
Turnover margin +1 or better.
+1 or better in turnover
I'd really
margin.
like to see +2 or +3 in this game, meaning BYU forces at least one more turnover than they give up. I'd like to see him +2. So I'd like to see him +2.
Before you go to number 2, Thomas from Goldendale, Washington, checking in. That's the first time we've had Goldendale represented on the live stream. So thanks, Thomas. All right, key number 2.
Average 5.5 yards per carry in the run game.
That's 2 yards better than last year.
Right. Against this team. That's what I expect. And remember, this was a good defensive football team last year, but there's a lot of new faces on that front.
Yeah. And it's going to be a full house. And, they're in the big time. And
I expect the line to be much sounder with what they're doing. And I'm believing in this running back core. I like this combination of L.J. Martin and Miles Davis and Hinckley Ropati. And I think they all bring a little bit something different to the run game. So if this offensive line can be really solid, I think they can average 5.5 yards per carry.
Okay, that sounds good.
So turnover margin +1 or better, average 5.5 yards per carry, and then
key number 3.
You ready for this?
Yeah, I'm writing these down because we'll follow up.
I don't know. I'm going to have to be the one that determines it, because there's no statistic. No stupid errors by the quarterbacks.
Let me write that down. No stupid errors.
So
that'll be open for Cougar Nation to debate.
And the reason I put that in there is, like, I got thinking about this.
So no 100-yard pick sixes.
So if Jake comes out and he throws the ball and it hits Chase in the chest and it bounces up and it gets intercepted,
that's not on the quarterback.
That's not a stupid error. He threw the ball to the right receiver in the right spot and the receiver blew it. Now, if Chase or Gary comes out and they roll all the way to the sideline on second and they're 3 yards from a first down, and they get to the sideline, and instead of just stepping out of bounds or sailing the ball over somebody's head out of bounds, they decide to throw back in the middle of the field and it gets picked off, that's a stupid error.
Okay.
Right? So making bad choices, and I'm talking about horrifically bad choices. So I'll have to determine. I'll watch the game, and we'll decide whether or not the quarterback's made stupid errors.
Yeah, I hope we're not talking about a lot of those.
No, let's not. I hope we're not talking about any stupid errors.
You know what? And later we'll dive into a little more college football. But SMU lucked out at Nevada.
Yes, they did.
And that surprised me. And all of a sudden, I mean, we thought BYU would be competitive in Dallas anyway next week. But there's no reason they shouldn't go down there and beat them.
And Nevada, like SMU, until the fourth quarter, struggled to move the ball against Nevada. Yeah. Nevada gave them fits. And so BYU can look at what Nevada did. They've got a good scout.
And Nevada's not great. They're picked last in the Mountain West.
So, it's interesting that SMU's getting a lot of preseason love, but They didn't look phenomenal. Now there's another week. They have a game this week too, so we'll see.
Hey, how about Rexburg, Idaho in the house?
There we go.
Kyle, good to have you
BYU,
with
Idaho.
us.
Home
I
of
vowed
BYU,
never to
Idaho.
return to Rexburg after my 1 year there because it was so cold in 1986. I have never been back. But that's not to say we don't love having everyone from Rexburg on the Wise Guys.
Yes, absolutely. And you know, depends on when you go. Rexburg in certain times of year is great.
Well, when you're in school, you have to stay the whole time.
I drove up from a meeting in Rexburg one time in January, and I didn't realize when I got in my car in Kaysville, it was 8 degrees. So, and that was cold. So
you weren't going to warm up.
So I drove all the way up, didn't stop, 1 tank of gas, got out of the car, and I felt like somebody came in with a freezing cold ice hand and just slapped me. It was like 17 degrees below zero that day.
Yeah. It's, you know what I used to do as a student walking to class? You'd breathe in and your nose would freeze shut.
Yes.
And then you'd breathe out and it would thaw. And that's how I'd entertain myself going down to class. That's how cold it was. That's not even a lie. That actually
happened. There's
happened.
times of the year it's absolutely gorgeous up there.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and the potatoes are good.
Yes,
there's no question about that. All right, let's transform our studio and bring our 2 guests over.
Yeah, let's do it.
And Steve, I think, is going to help us. So you're going to come over here. And our 1974 Cougars are going to go over there.
Okay, let's do this.
And while all this happens, DJ, I'm going to tell you about a couple of shows we got coming up. We've got After Further Review tomorrow, Tuesday, 5 o'clock Mountain Time. DJ, are you going to put me on a single shot on that one? Then we can kind of dance around all the moving. Okay, there we go. Tomorrow, 5 o'clock Mountain Time on the BYU TV app, BYUtv.org, and starting tomorrow, ESPN Plus. We'll continue our player profiles on this week's show, including the quarterbacks. That's always a hot topic. The receiver, Chase Roberts, defensive end, Tyler Batty. Much more on AFR. That is tomorrow night. And then our 2-hour season premiere of BYU Sports Nation Game Day starts Saturday at 4 Mountain Time on BYU TV and ESPN Plus. Blaine, David Nixon, Austin Colley, Brian Logan, Isaiah Kafusi, Spencer Linton, and me. 2 hours of us all. We'll hear from head coach Kalani Sitake. We will also hear from Chase Roberts and get the very latest on the quarterback situation. In fact, when we go on the air, we should know who's the starter. So don't miss us at 4 Mountain Time on Saturday. And then Saturday night, it's BYU in Southern Illinois. That's at 6 Mountain on ESPN Plus. And then the post-game show is on BYU TV. So it's a super long day for us, but we live for that. So now we're over here. It's like we're at the same booth at a restaurant.
Yeah.
It's a little different for us.
We were talking about this before we came on because DJ asked us. He said, when you and I go with Brenda and Diane to eat, do we sit side by side with them across from us, or do we stagger, or do we sit next to our
spouses? What did you say?
I said we usually sit like this. We sit across, and he said that was weird, but I don't think that's weird.
Yeah, we just do whatever they want.
Well, exactly. We do what Brenda and Diane say. That's what we do.
As part of Saturday's game, BYU will honor the 1974 Cougars, the 50th anniversary of BYU's first bowl team. Our pleasure to welcome 2 Hall of Famers here with us tonight. Quarterback Gary Sheide, linebacker Larry Carr from the 74 team that made history. Welcome, guys. Good to have you with us.
Thanks.
It's great to be
here.
Does it feel like 50 years, Larry?
Of course not. I still feel like I'm 25. I just don't move like it.
Do you feel like sometimes when you're watching the game, it's like, I feel like I could go out there and do that right now?
Well, I still have dreams with football. And the dreams involve me always being late. And I'm trying to play at my age now.
Oh,
and they're nightmares.
Yeah.
When
you get up sore?
If I dream, I can't run fast. I run really slow.
I start to run and then I fall down.
What is it, Gary, about sports? Because we're going to talk sports here tonight. That's what we do every week on the Wise Guys. But as we talk about it and share stories and stuff, it feels like we were just there, doesn't it?
A funny story. We're talking with our team, getting together for our reunion, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, the topic pops up of ADA parking. Now, because of ADA parking, then everybody starts commenting about the injuries they had and the operations they had. And it is just hilarious. And then someone said, why don't you just put a metal detector in when you have the guys come in for their dinner that night and see who's talking the truth about all the surgeries they've had. But yeah, Dave, that's kind of how it is. It seems like just a few years ago, but when you think about it, you're a little bit older.
Yeah.
So for the 50-year reunion, do we need to give half the team ADA parking passes for this?
If you asked everybody on that team, everyone I heard, wasn't that funny, Larry, just to hear the comments about the surgeries they had and the resurgeries?
Well, it was the replacements, the joint replacements, and everybody was competing to see who had the most joint replacements. I have not had any joint replacements. Now, if you could replace a spine, that's another situation, because that's my weak point.
What do you remember? And we're going to ask you in a moment. What do you remember from Gary from back in those days?
Offense and defense didn't mix a lot. So I remember that I was always counting on Gary. I always had hope that he was going to do something, that he was going to create something.
Yeah.
And for Arizona State, he did. For Oklahoma State, he didn't, because he got knocked out of the game.
Yeah.
And I hadn't seen Gary. We saw each other in 2015, and I hadn't seen him since the Oklahoma State game.
Not since 1974?
I had not seen him since 1974.
Wow.
We were playing golf at some BYU get-together, and I feel this hand come up and knock me on the shoulder. And I turn around, and I said, first of all, I didn't recognize him right away.
Yeah.
But I said, Gary. And he said, the first thing out of his mouth was, Larry, I just want to apologize for getting knocked out of the Fiesta Bowl. First thing he said to me. So, yeah, Gary was a great player. He was a Joe Namath lookalike. He played like him. And he always gave us that hope that something was going to happen.
If he doesn't get knocked out of that game, do you win going away?
Well, I hate to say that, because our next quarterback came in and did a great job, did his best. But as a defense, we held Oklahoma State better than any other team in the Big 8 that year.
Yeah.
We were 8th in rush defense. I mean, we did scoring. We did a really great job offensively. There's no question. I mean, he went right down, scored 2 quick field goals.
Yeah.
And we would have run away with it and been ranked close to number 10.
What do you remember about Larry from back in those days, Gary?
I just remember in practices, those linebackers were tough. And we had really good coaches. We had Coach Whittingham, and you just see Larry's face every time we came up to the line of scrimmage if it's 1v1. And he just didn't want to run the ball there. You just knew someone's going to get crushed if they come into that middle of that field. And that's kind of some of the pictures are still out there of Larry, what he looked like when he was a middle linebacker. And there's nobody tougher. Whatever level I ever played at, I don't think there's anybody ever been tougher than Larry Carr. So from an offense standpoint, we knew if something went wrong, the defense gets us back in the ball game, and Larry was one of those main reasons, because he had that Butkus mentality, and if someone was coming in the middle, they were going to pay a price. So
Coach Fred Whittingham was coaching defense back in those days, and coached for a lot of years. Was he as scary then as he was? Because Fred Whittingham recruited me.
Fred came in 1973. Was his first year out of high school. He was a coach at high school. And once we could understand him, he had that Boston gravelly voice. He was a scary guy. I mean, I wanted to do well, obviously. I didn't want to get on his bad side, but he was a great coach. I am not the athlete that a lot of linebackers have been. I'm probably the slowest linebacker that's ever played at BYU, or at least has started at BYU. But following Fred's coaching, his game plan, I didn't graduate because I spent the whole season in the film room. With his coaching and studying the films, I couldn't make a mistake. I couldn't afford it. I wasn't fast enough to make up for that. So I had to make a perfect read, and Fred made a very average athlete into a successful player.
What Larry's saying is time adjusted. He's the greatest tackler in the history of BYU.
Yeah, that's what I'm
if we do
hearing.
a speed adjustment.
Speed adjustment. John from Allen, Texas is on the live stream tonight. We welcome everybody. The 1974 team is going to gather for a special dinner on Friday night and then be honored in front of all those fans on Saturday. What are the two of you looking forward to the most in this team dinner?
Now go ahead, Larry. I'll let you talk
Seeing
first.
everybody. It's been again, it's probably been 50 years since I've seen most of these people.
Wow.
We just all kind of spread out, went our own way, and just it's been a long time. But you spend 4 years together, intense, and overcoming the trials that we overcame as a team. We really changed the discussion with Lavelle, by coming back and winning the rest of the season.
Yeah.
Maybe saved his job. I don't know. Probably, possibly.
He says you did.
Yeah, he's been a great guy, and I was able to play golf with him for most of the years since then, until he passed. But it's going to be great seeing everybody and catching up, and it was an intense time together, and it will be like we haven't been apart.
Yeah.
I mean, it really will seem like that.
You're going to huddle up the guys?
Well, I'll tell you, it's one of those things where when you create a first, which we did, we were the first BYU Bowl team, it's something that's very special, and it stays with you the rest of your life. No matter what anybody else does, nobody else can lay claim to being the first bowl team for BYU. And when we went into that Fiesta Bowl, I get back to a comment that Larry made there. All week long, you're doing activities, and Blaine, you've been to bowl games, and all week long you're doing activities with or against the other team. Mm-hmm. And we were at Oklahoma State. They were big, they were athletic, and they were cocky. They thought they were just going to walk over us, and all week long we just kind of sat back and say, yeah, how are we going to compete with you guys? You guys are so good, you're fast, you play the Big Eight, and I don't know. I just hope we can just make a game out of it, and we're taking that attitude. But deep down, we knew, or at least I knew, and I bet Larry knew too, we were going to beat him. There was no question in my mind we were going to beat him. Yeah. They played in the old Okie 5-2, where the defensive linemen were in a three-point stance, and they came right off the corners. So how are they going to guard our running backs? They can guard the receivers, but they're not going to be able to guard our running backs out of the backfield. And so we knew going in, there's no way they could stop us. And they're going to see something they haven't seen before. They're going to see a passing attack. And if that one guy just didn't get lucky and knock me out of the game, no question, we'd have beat him. And that's why I apologize to Larry for missing that.
That was a long time. That apology was like 35 years.
You guys were you were revolutionizing the passing game in college football and using 5 receivers in the routes and getting the backs out of the backfield. Nobody knew how to defend that back in those days. First bowl team for BYU, but another first. It's the first BYU team ever to appear in the AP Top 25. So, and since then, BYU is they're ranked 25th for the most appearances in the AP Top 25. Guess where Utah's ranked? They've looked it up for us. 174th.
Yeah.
174th.
Who's Utah?
Yeah, exactly.
And BYU's 279 weeks in the top 25.
What was that like to finally be ranked and to know that no BYU team ever before you had ever been ranked?
Well, it was really good. You go back to, we played a couple really tough games early in the season against Arizona and then later on against Arizona State. And when we went to Arizona was in the top 20 or something like that. They were a very good team. And our defense just shut them down. Larry and the guys just shut them down. And I think I threw 5 touchdown passes, and I was the AP back of the week. And all of a sudden, they said, who are these guys? Who are these guys that throw 5 touchdown passes and throw 40 passes a game? It was different. Somebody had to do it, and it was BYU, and it was us. So when we beat Arizona, I go back to the pregame when Larry's coach Whittingham, he comes up to us in the night before, and I don't know if you remember this, Larry, but he came in and he said he gave a great speech. he was just saying, these guys are nothing. They're overrated, and you guys have the ability to beat these guys. You play like you guys play with heart, play as a team. And he was a motivator. And by the time he got done, I was ready to go out in the field right then and play. So anyway, we did something that hadn't been done before. So once we get in the top 15 and we're going into the bowl game, at least I'm thinking, we're going to win this thing. We were favored to win that game, and I think we would have done it.
Yeah.
Well, remember that we were rated in the top number 15, I guess, but at Colorado State, we should have won that game.
Right.
We win that game, we lose it in the last 3 seconds, or we tie it in the last 3 seconds.
Wasn't that your fault, Gary, the Colorado State game?
Well, I'm going to tell you what the real reason was on our reunion night. I'm going to tell the real story.
Oh, that's coming out on Friday?
It's coming out.
It's coming out. Hold on.
Okay, so you can't reveal it now, but there's a teaser for the reunion on Friday night.
BYU Cougars in from Branson, Missouri. Jonathan from Henderson, Nevada. Old Zuby from Vernal, Utah. This live stream just hooks up BYU fans all over the place. It's so much fun. And it's great to have you guys with us. Former Cougars Gary Sheide and Larry Carr on the Wise Guys. Presented by Brady Plus. Gary threw for over 4,500 yards and 45 touchdowns in 2 seasons as he and Lavelle Edwards introduced the forward pass to Provo. We all know that. Larry had 189 tackles and 8 interceptions in 3 seasons at BYU. Nice job.
Now I had 390.
390, just as I said, 390.
But the 8 interceptions is correct.
But the 8 interceptions is correct.
Which is actually, I mean, both are crazy numbers, but 8 interceptions for a linebacker might be more crazy than over 300 tackles for a linebacker, especially in those days
I had
when teams
almost
weren't throwing it as much as they're throwing it now.
I had almost 400 tackles, and I only played 30 games.
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
You-
I don't know how
12
I shortchanged you.
12 tackles a game.
200 tackles.
Is what-
Almost 13.
Yeah, it was what you averaged over 12 tackles a game, which may still be a record at BYU for the most tackles
It
average
is.
per game. Yeah, I think it still is.
I keep looking at things to feel
see
good
if
about
anybody does it,
myself
yeah.
because
Yeah.
I'm so little
So-
and so forgotten.
Well, and you were playing backer at 6 feet and 220 pounds, right?
yeah, 225.
220, 225. So
Yeah.
So what did it feel like, Larry, when you walked on the field at the Fiesta Bowl?
You can't explain it. I mean, it was tremendous. I mean, I love football.
Yeah.
Football is the greatest sport. And the way it makes you feel, just seeing the fans and being there and the excitement, it just, I would get really nervous before a game. I couldn't even eat before a game.
Really?
Sometimes I'd throw up. But once you walked onto the field, it just changed. I mean, because you were there, it was exciting. You just couldn't wait to get started. And that first play, you can't even explain it. It's
Did it take
tremendous.
laying a hit to calm you down? Sometimes quarterbacks say they got to get hit first before they get into the
Well, the first
into the
play
game.
I get hit. I mean,
You just go,
I just
then
get
you were
hit
in.
every play, and I'm ready and excited, and I feel like I know the game plan, and I'm reading it, and it's just exciting.
Your plan was to not get hit, but what did it take for you to get into game mode?
It was pretty simple for me. I was excited about it. I'd gone home to California to be with my friends, between the season ending and the bowl game, and we were all excited. And they said, "How are you gonna compete against these guys? These guys are really good." And I said, just watch. I said, "We'll show you. We'll show you what a passing game is about." And so I was excited when the game was finally getting there. I could hardly wait till they blew the whistle and started the game.
for you, announcers always make this comment. I've made the comment myself. Played the same position that you played, but you'll hear announcers say, "Well, they need to give the guy some easier throws. Like, let him get in a rhythm." Did you like to start out a game and have some throws that were really, really high percentage throws to kind of get everybody on the same page, or did you not care?
No, I think that's very helpful. I think you need to give, when you chart your plays throughout the whole year, you got an idea of what percentage did you complete of this particular play. And so if it's a pretty positive average, then you go with a play to give that quarterback confidence, to give the offensive line confidence, and to give the whole offense a chance that, all right, this is a positive play. And and I like the attitude that when I was playing at Cincinnati with Bill Walsh, he says, "I'm going to run a reverse." He says, within the first 10 plays of the game, I'm going to run a reverse just to keep the backside home, so they don't chase the play. So we do something just to keep the backside home. And then when you're throwing your routes, you'd look for your reads. And if the linebacker went one way, whatever he went, it was wrong. So we'd go the other direction. So it was a pretty simple and fun way to do it. And I look back in that game, and darn it, if that guy doesn't knock me out, we crush those guys.
You guys jumped out to a 6-0 lead, as you mentioned, and you were just systematically moving the ball down the field, just throwing what the defense was given, right? Then you get knocked out. You have 12, right almost at your average, 12 tackles in that game, but a 16-6 loss. That's not the kind of game we were all used to watching back then.
Let's see. I was 7. You were 10.
Yeah,
we weren't happy kids.
Hey, I remember my dad and I watching you guys, during that season, going, "No, this team's they're going to put 28 or 30 up on these guys. Like they're not going to be able to stop them from throwing the ball." But you get knocked out, and the offense slowed down a little bit, but the defense to hold that team to
16 points. The last touchdown, which made it 16, was a halfback pass at the end of the game,
right,
which was a throwaway touchdown.
So defense was really solid.
And one touchdown, I think they took over on a fumble on inside our 10 or 20 yard line. So we played really well. In fact, my proudest moment of that is that they had a all Big 8 center, and about halfway through the game they replaced him because he
wasn't doing his job.
Nice.
So that made me feel good.
On our stream, TR Play, no dog in this house, Cougar fan in Georgia. So welcome, Georgia.
And the dogs are big down there.
On the Wise Guys.
When we played at Georgia, Robbie Bosco and I were walking out of the tunnel. You know how when you warm up and you go back and get all your stuff on, you come out for the last time, and sometimes when you're warming up, just part of the fans are there, and when you come back out that last time, they're all there. And as we were coming out of the tunnel, we could hear like, we're like, what are they saying? And as we got further out toward the tunnel, 88,000 people are going, dog meat, dog meat, dog meat. And I said to Robbie, that kind of gives me the chills. That's kind of cool.
It was playing the good teams. It was the exciting part of football.
That's the best part, right?
That's the best part.
There's a lot going on with this anniversary year. For one, BYU's going back to Sun Devil Stadium, which is Mountain America Stadium now, to play the Sun Devils the week before Thanksgiving. Oklahoma State is coming to BYU for the first time ever on October 18th. That would be payback 50 years in the making. How excited are you for that one?
They better pay him back. That's all I got to say.
And you typically played Arizona State in Arizona, didn't you, during that time? And they've kind of not been in a rotation since the whole Pac-12, and now all of a sudden Arizona State and Arizona are back. Utah's back. The teams that you guys played as traditional regional rivals are all back, going to be on schedule now. Do you like that, or what do you think about those 4 coming into the Big 12?
Well, I think it's great. I mean, it was always a battle. When we went down to our junior year, Larry, remember that game? I mean, they killed us. They had Danny White and Ben Malone and Woody Green and Jefferson and Bruno. And they just had a bunch of all pros there, and they just killed us. But we got them when they came back home. So I think when we get those type of teams coming to LaVell Edwards Stadium, there's always a chance for a victory, and we've seen it year in and year out with the great teams of the past, beating the Miamis and the Michigans and those sort of things. But when they come to LaVell Edwards Stadium, it's a different atmosphere.
Larry,
and Frank Kush hated to lose to BYU.
It was personal to him.
It was
I was going to ask you, Larry.
He didn't think much of us.
He mentions how good BYU is at home. I think one of the reasons BYU Vegas has them as 4.5 wins is the over-under. They're predicting 4.5 wins. And people are thinking, they're not going to get to a bowl game. They have 5, one of the most difficult schedules in the country, 5 ranked teams on the schedule. 4 of those are in LaVell Edwards Stadium. So what would you say to those folks that think BYU is going to be 4.5 wins or less?
They got to win at home. I mean, it's a big advantage, and it's a wonderful stadium, and they got to win at home. Simple as that. Just do it.
Just do it. Nike took
that from him.
They took that. They owe you a lot. Once football ended, both of you turned a lot of your time to education. Dr. Carr is an adjunct professor in the Department of Neurology at the University of Utah School of Medicine. And Gary, as we've often talked about, has been teaching kids for many, many years in junior high school. What drew both of you to the classroom?
Well, after BYU, I went to Canada and played a couple of years, and then after that, I came back. I wasn't even close to graduating. Back then, they didn't have academic advisors. All they had is your coach tried to make you stay eligible. That means you had to pass 12 hours a
basket
semester,
weaving and all
whatever
those things.
It was. So I tried several majors. None of them worked. So I came back. And I said, well, maybe PE. I can do PE. So I was going to be a coach. So that means I had to graduate in PE and get a master's because I wanted to coach in college. So in my master's program, I took an exercise physiology class, and I loved it. And I loved the science of it. I loved to understand more about what we were doing and when we worked out, what was effective, what wasn't effective, why we were doing certain things. And I just took it and ran, and ended up staying there and getting a PhD in physiology and exercise physiology. And I loved it. Taught university for about 8 years, consulted with some NFL teams with strength and conditioning, and just really loved that field.
In pursuing that field, you've done a lot of research and a lot of work on concussions, using light therapy to treat concussions. It's kind of been a passion of yours. Tell us about the breakthroughs in that, and how you've progressed in treating and recognizing concussions and helping football players.
Well, first off, I don't like the word concussion, because concussion is it's been used as a scapegoat. Okay, the NFL uses concussions. If we can cut down on concussions, we're making the sport safer. It's not concussions. Concussions has nothing to do with the long-term disease of CTE or brain damage. It has to do with repetitive hits. And actually, it's come a little farther than that. It has to do with repetitive acceleration events. So when you look at acceleration events, you're looking at a change in direction, rapid change in direction. So people that are wearing these bubble hats and things like that, personally, I don't believe they do a thing, because it has nothing to do with changing the direction of the brain and your head rattling around. You can wrap your whole body in bubble wrap and you do that.
But if you're going full speed and it stops suddenly, the brain keeps going?
It just keeps going. I mean, it just goes there, and then if you get run back, your back of your head gets hit against the floor, that brain hits in the back, and it's terrible. We've done a lot of research at Utah. It saved my life. I found it in Boston when my wife and I were on a mission. We were ready to come home early. We got referred by the expert in brain CTE research, Ann McKee. Brought it back here. Everybody patted me on the back and said, I'm glad you're feeling better. So I needed to validate it. Hooked up with the University of Utah neuroscientists. Yeah. We've been doing this for 5 years, and I believe we're on the cusp of finding the solution for CTE.
You sent us a picture. We had it up a moment ago, and DJ's going to put it back up. And on our podcast, we're seeing a picture of a kid hitting another kid in a tackle with the ball being knocked loose. On the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and wiseguys.com, you can see it. Why did you send us this picture?
I love this picture for several reasons. We could talk about it for 45 minutes, but just simply put, this is the way they're teaching them how to tackle now. Okay, when I was there, Fred taught us to hit right under the chin with your foot, with your face.
Hit your face in the number, right?
Knock their heads back. This guy's hitting him with the shoulder. But if you look close, look at the guy that's getting hit, and look at what his helmet is doing. This is 100 years old. This picture.
Really?
What's that helmet doing? It's continuing to go forward. That's the same thing that his brain is doing right now. It's continuing to go forward and bashing against the front of his skull. Now, at the end of this tackle, what's going to happen? He's going to go back and smack his head in the back, and so the brain's going to hit on the back. The guy that's doing the tackling, you can see the helmet be pushed into his face. So his brain is doing the same thing. But of the two, who's getting the worst part of it in terms of brain damage?
Tackler?
No,
it's the guy that's getting tackled because he's getting hit front and then back. Yeah.
His brain is rattling around there like in a jar. I mean, it's really bad. So, I mean, you look at the NFL, it's concussion protocol. They're trying to say. You look at them wearing these funny hats that they think they're doing something. Prevention isn't the answer. They're changing the game and the rules. They're changing everything. People don't want those rule changes. It just is ineffective. The only way you can deal with this and save the game is to treat it. And we're finding that using infrared light, it changes the brain's physiology. We're having tremendous success with this.
Does this new kickoff rule in pro football, I don't know if you've watched it closely, but the players line up now 5 yards apart from each other down the field. They can't even move until the ball's caught. It's creating a situation where they can't get running full speed and go smack each other. It takes away. I would imagine that would help some because they're not coming at such a high speed and then changing direction so quickly, even based on your.
Yeah, but the kickoff is how many plays a game.
Yeah.
I mean, it's only a handful of plays, so now it becomes like a regular game,
right.
lineup game. So no, prevention is not the answer.
So treatment is the answer.
Treatment is the answer, and that's what I'm trying to do.
It's interesting that, and I saw the movie Concussion that I thought was it called Concussion?
Yeah, I
thought it was really fascinating. But for someone who loves football, usually a lot of the folks who study the injuries that come from the game are so opposed to the game, but you love it, and so. Your search for an answer is so sincere because it's not we shouldn't play football anymore. It's how can we do it better?
Well, it was a struggle for a while.
Yeah.
I mean, I was diagnosed with severe brain damage in about 2013. I'm lucky to have escaped with my marriage intact, with my life still intact. But we made it through. And there was a period of time where I was dealing with that difficult realization that the sport that I loved was killing me. Because at that point, CTE, there was no cure for it. You just have to wait to get dementia and then die or something else or kill yourself because things are so dark and so black and so awful. But once we were in Boston and I found this, it's like the universe opened up. It doesn't have to be a conflict anymore, because it must have been hard for coaches to think in the back of their mind, this is killing people. This is causing divorces. Right. This is causing homelessness. This is really impacting players. Yet I'm getting paid a lot of money to make sure they do this.
Right.
So that's a tough decision to make and tough to reconcile. So once I found this, my wife says I'm back to better than I ever was before.
Nice job, by the way.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
My wife's not saying that.
No, but we're really excited. If we can get enough funding, we can make this thing
This is
happen.
exciting work. It makes the game, not the game safe, but it makes the things that happen as a result of the game safe because you can treat it.
And Gary, you had a shoulder injury from the Oklahoma State game, which derailed your professional career. And we talk about the prices that so many guys pay to play this game, and then it sends you off in a different direction. You've been teaching school for a long, long time, and I don't know anyone who loves football more than you do, but it was an injury that took you out.
Absolutely. And first of all, I'd like to say you can see how smart Larry is there. He's obviously a very intelligent guy, and that's why he led our defense to being, the best that's ever been there at BYU. From my perspective, I tried to avoid contact. Blaine.
Yeah.
We don't want
to hit you in practice either. Don't touch him in practice, right?
We're not focused on getting hit in the head at all. We just want to get the heck out of there, and those guys want to just knock the heck out of you. So, but anyway. Back to my schooling there.
Sure.
as I graduated from college, I went into a business. And in the business I was in, we designed and built floating marinas around the world.
Yeah.
And we built 300 marinas on 5 continents, and I got a chance to travel around the world many times. And we built 30 marinas in Japan and 15 in the Middle East, and I loved it. But I'd always wanted to teach. My favorite teachers as I was growing up were my junior high PE teachers.
Yeah.
And I said, one day I'm going to teach PE. And so I had my career going 20 years of doing that business. And then I had the opportunity. We moved out to Utah, and I became a junior high teacher, and I absolutely love it. I love just paying it back.
And you've coached every sport, haven't you?
Coached every sport.
Every sport.
And I coached over at Lone Peak High School for a number of years. We had some great players over there. We won state championships, and we won the region championship about every year. And I've coached in basketball, I've coached baseball, I've coached all my kids, and so it's just time to pay it back.
You're also my color analyst on BYU baseball games on ESPN Plus. So we do about 20 of those every year and have for a long, long time. So you got your hands in all kinds of things. Building marinas and changing the way we look at injury and how we use medicine and then coming back to teaching and helping other people figure things out. You guys aren't just two dumb jocks from 1974. You guys help change the world.
Well, we're very blessed, and it's very blessed to be playing with teammates like Larry and I just remember as we went off the field, if we were a little discouraged, we felt the defense would pick us up. And if you'd have been at that Fiesta Bowl, it was at Arizona State, and it was hard as a rock. They just painted the ground. It was like dirt, and it was hard as a rock. But you could hear the contact. Those guys came out to hit, and so did we. So it was quite a game, and but it's just an honor to be the first bowl team from BYU.
Yeah.
What is it about sports, maybe football in particular? Larry, you mentioned you haven't seen a bunch of guys for a long, long time, but you're going to see them Friday, and it'll be like the years, like you're right back together again. You'll just pick up right where you left off. What is it about sports that allows you to do that? To not see people forever, but they're still like your brother?
I think it's the intensity of those 4 years or 5 years together. Every day hitting heads and working out and preparing and coming together as a family to compete. I almost liken it to going to war, but war has a negative connotation. Yeah. People die. But you can see that people that do that stay together for years and years and years afterwards. And it's the same thing now. And that's the sad part about the way football is now, where people are going for the
transferring
best deal
and doing all,
Yeah.
I think they lose out on that camaraderie, on that brotherhood that we were able to experience, and I think that's kind of what it is. I mean, the email thread that's been going preparing for this, they're joking and as if they've been communicating all along. And it's just, I think it's the intensity and the desire.
You're going to hear so many stories. You're going to need to get some fact checkers after your dinner on Friday night. Former Cougars Larry Carr and Gary Sheide on the Wise Guys tonight, live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and wiseguys.com. Norman's in from Beaumont, Texas. Norman, good to have you with us. So we're going to pose some questions for you. And we got 5 questions coming up, but those aren't these questions. What has surprised you the most since you both suited up at BYU? The fact that BYU plays in a stadium now that seats 63,470, that BYU has a TV station that broadcasts all around the world, that BYU's won a national championship. It gets harder. Keep going.
Yeah, BYU has won a Heisman Trophy, that BYU has a Doak Walker Award winner, that BYU's in the Big 12, that BYU's now played in 39 bowl games. You guys were the first. Who'd have thunk that?
Or that college football players are getting paid to play. What's the biggest surprise on that list?
My senior year, I was married. I was married actually my sophomore year. And we got $165 a month total. And my wife had to go to work, but she got pregnant and had a baby. So I was living off the training table, $165 a month in student loans.
Yeah.
It was a struggle. It was a real struggle. And to see these guys going for the top dollar to make the kind of money that they're making that's surprising. It's like the Wild West out there. I don't know what's going to happen with it.
Is that the biggest surprise to you, Gary?
Well, to me, success breeds success. So I know when Mark Wilson came to BYU, he told me, Gary, the reason I went there is because of you.
Yeah.
You had success, and I wanted to do the same thing. And I think that's gone through the whole system to get the BYU quarterbacks that we've had there leading the teams. Just success breeds success. As far as paying the athletes, I don't really have a problem with that. I mean, I think to me, we got the $165 a month. They're the guys that always seem to be shafted when coaches leave. And they're stuck there. So to me, if they make the money, they deserve it. That's good. But there's got to be some kind of control. Right now, it just seems like it's out of control, and how many guys stay at their school? Blaine, would you have stayed at BYU in 1984 in this day and age to be the backup to Robbie, and when you had opportunities to play at other schools?
I thought about transferring to Arizona State. Frank Kush came. You remember Frank Kush and said, "Don't sit there. Come down here. We need a starter down here." Now I said, "No, I'm going to stay here. This is where I want to be." But what if Frank Kush had said, "Why are you staying there? Come down here and we'll pay you $750,000 a year"? I might have had to think about that.
Brenda would have answered that for you.
a little bit differently than no, I'm going to stay here, because I was going to go to Arizona State for the exact same scholarship that I had at BYU. But if there was $750,000 attached to that, I might have gone.
I think a starting quarterback gets more.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Well, he should, right?
Yeah. There's some of them that they're paid over. I heard that Miami had an NIL deal with a quarterback out of high school from the Midwest for $1 million a year. He's never taken a snap in college football.
Yeah.
High school kids are playing.
Yeah.
In the movie Concussion, you brought that up, and one of the actors, he played Dr. Maroon, I think. He was really concerned when he was realizing what this was, this CTE. And he said, if 10% of the people find out about this, or if 10% of the moms out there find out about this, that's the end of football.
Yeah.
Well, Boston University has already proven that at least 10% of the NFL players had this problem, probably college too. By the way, we've done research with college football players, and there's some real red flags in their brain scans right now, as they are with women's soccer players. So this goes a lot deeper than we know. But he said that it would be the end of football, but it's not. It's not the end of football. Immediately, a lot of people left it. A lot of moms left it. But now they're paying high school players. They're playing college players. They're just sucking them right back into the sport, which is great. I have no problem with that.
Yeah.
I love the sport. But no, it's not going anywhere. We got to figure out how to treat it, not take it.
A lot of people think paying players is going to ruin the game, but it's not, because we love the game and kids love it. We keep playing it. I saw the Cowboys receiver today got like a 4-year, $136 million deal, and that's who every receiver in Texas wants to be. So the love for the game has withstood it, but what about the future? What about the future of this game you love? What do you see happening?
Great question. I mean, you look at Coach Saban over there at Alabama. I mean, he retired because he got tired of hearing the players come to him and tell them what they wanted to do and what money they wanted to make and all that sort of thing. It's totally different than how it's been in the past. You don't tell the coaches what you want. Coaches tell you what I need, and this is what I expect of you. So with those type of things going on, when you get the Sabans of the world, that one of the best coaches, if not the best, coach ever, can't handle it anymore, and you got you just got the wrong people running the program instead of where the direction should come from the top, and that starts happening. And then I think we're going to need to make some type of changes. I don't know what they are.
Some kind of commissioner to oversee,
or to put fences around what people can pay, and there's. Yeah. Right now, the NFL and the NBA and Major League Baseball are way more regulated than college sports.
Yeah, you're right.
There's salary caps. There's a draft. There's all of these things that allow teams to be
luxury
competitive.
Tax.
So a small market team can compete with a big market team. luxury taxes, all of that happen in professional sports because it's a pay for play scenario, and they know that, so they have rules around it. College football right now, there's none of that. So it's like to the highest bidder, free transfers whenever you want to go. So it is the kind of the wild west. What about you, Larry? Do you see it changing at some point in the future?
It's going to evolve. I mean, I think BYU pays the players through benefits or something. I think I heard, but I don't know that for sure. But Texas A&M, Texas, all these schools that pay millions of dollars, it's going to evolve into some certain mega conferences, I think.
Yeah.
Because how can the small schools compete? They can't. On one hand, but on the other hand, I think you're going to see a more leveling out of the competition because the second string quarterback's not going to stay second string. He's going to go somewhere else. The 4 or 5 star athlete is not going to sit. They're going to go somewhere else. Right. So you're going to get a better.
The talent will be spread out a little bit more.
The talent will be spread out better.
That's some people. I was saying the same thing that you were saying, Gary, about Nick Saban's. Like, man, Saban can't take it. And somebody said to me, yeah, Saban can't take it because he's always had the best talent in the country because they have the #1 recruiting class in the country or #2 every year for the last 10 years. And now it's going to be competitive because some others are going to be able to compete, and Nick doesn't want to be involved. And I was like, ooh, I never thought of it that way, right?
Yeah,
he's got 4 and 5 star recruits third string.
Right. Now they're going to leave, right?
Now George is the
They're
team.
stay.
Now George is the team to beat.
Yeah.
We'll see if anyone can beat him. One more question, and we'll hit with you 5 questions, and we'll get you out of here. So good to have both of you with us on a big week for the 1974 team, and a big week because it's the season opener of the new season on Saturday night. So what do you expect to see from BYU Saturday on the heels of 5 losses to end last season, with all the changes that have been made to become better and to get better? When the Cougs come out, Gary, put your analyst hat on. What do you expect to see?
You know, I expect this game to be, at least a 2, 3, maybe 4 touchdown victory. Yeah. It should be because when you compare athletes, they're going to have some very good athletes, but they're not going to have near as many as BYU will have, and that's a difference in the different levels of football. You just don't have as many good athletes. So BYU controls the line of scrimmage. Their quarterback does what he needs to do, leads the team, and they get a lead, and they keep the hammer down. And it was like when I think Jim McMahon was in the Super Bowl, and he says, I'm going to get my backup quarterback in that game. So the goal of whoever starts this game, get your points, get your victory, and get your backups in the game. Yeah. So that should be your goal. Get everybody in, take care of business, and just throw caution to the wind. Just go out and beat them.
Larry?
Agreed. I mean, they lost, 4 or 5 in a row at the end of the season. They better win. Simple. I mean, they've got one goal, and that's to win big.
5 questions now for our 2 stars here on the Wise Guys, presented by Strategy Square. Before Blaine hits you with these both, and we'll get you both on this. We might have done some with you on the boat, but we have no record of that, Gary, so we're going to redo it. When the 60,000 fans give you a standing O on Saturday night, how's that going to feel?
Great. Because none of them were born probably when we played.
Some of them.
There's
heard that.
Yeah,
but there's plenty on
that west side.
But for in the world that we're in today, for the 74 team to stand there in a stadium you didn't play in front of those kind of the mass audience, and for them to recognize you as Cougars who put them on the map, what will that feel like?
Well, it'll be special. Dave's Larry's in the Hall of Fame.
Right.
I was fortunate to be inducted in the Hall of Fame. When you get inducted, you get to come on.
They march you out
again.
there, you bet,
and you get to feel like you're 20 years old again. It's just a very special feeling. And walking down that field on Saturday with a team that was the first bowl team is going to be so special. I don't know what we're going to put arms around each other, or our arms through
some
arms.
Tears.
Yeah, it'll just be a memory that will come back and be very special.
It's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
I think it's great.
All 39 bowl teams. The 38 that followed you.
Or 39 that followed, right?
39
you
followed,
were first of 40 overall.
Oh, that's right, 40 overall. So 39 others. They stood on your shoulders. Absolutely. And we knew that 10 years later, right? that we were standing on your shoulders of what you had built, and then these guys have stood on our shoulders and the people that played beyond us.
Now, if we can just get to the Pop-Tarts Bowl,
yes.
we'll be living the dream.
What's the one that I always wanted to do? I wanted to be in the Cheez-It Bowl.
And then the Cheez-It, they
because
went
they had
out.
the Cheez-It room.
And they replaced themselves with Pop-Tarts.
Yeah.
Well, when we played the Fiesta Bowl, that was only one of, I think, 8 or 9 bowl games.
That's right.
It was so tough to get to a bowl game back in those days. You really,
Now there's like 40-something.
Yeah. If you don't go to a bowl game, you've had
It's the low of lows.
Well,
we know what that feels like.
At one point, BYU played in so many in a row that, and I never said this, but guys were like, "Oh, we're playing in the Holiday Bowl again."
Yeah,
like we do something different. I'm thinking, man, what we wouldn't give to play in a Holiday Bowl right now, right? So, yeah, you take it for granted, but it was much more difficult to get to a bowl when you guys were playing, for sure. So, okay, so here's our 5 questions, and we'll on the first one we'll have. Gary, answer first, and then Larry, you, and then we'll have Larry so that you each get a chance to answer first. We're going to ask you the same question. This is just to get to know you guys, and whatever comes to the top of your head, bam, you just throw it out there, okay? So it's 5 questions, fast. Favorite sports movie?
Well, my favorite movie is Groundhog Day.
Is that a sports movie, though? It has to be a sports movie.
I just go with my favorite movies.
Groundhog Day, which I love, Bill Murray.
That's just of the
favorite.
Thousands of guests
Andy
we've had
McDowell,
on the show. That's
Bill
the first
Murray,
Groundhog
Andy
Day.
McDowell.
I like The Sandlot.
Sandlot. Let's go Sandlot.
And that was filmed here.
By the way,
Utah.
Ole Olson on the live stream says, I first became a BYU fan when reading the sports page and found Gary and BYU leading the nation in passing. Thank you, Gary.
There you go.
How about that?
Awesome. Appreciate that. Thank you.
So,
clearly, there's one other person as old as you guys who appreciates. No, that's not true.
Same question for Larry. Favorite sports movie?
It's got to be a tie between Hoosiers and Rudy.
Hoosiers and Rudy. Do you know what? Classic. I love Rudy. We don't get that many Rudies. We have a lot of Hoosiers. Marie Osmond's favorite movie when she came on the show is Rudy. Is Hoosiers.
Yeah.
She married a basketball player though, so
that's good.
But no, those are great. Okay, now we're gonna start. We're gonna start with Larry. Your favorite singer, band, performing artist, like.
Oh boy, I would have to say probably the Eagles.
Eagles,
classic.
That is a great one.
Beatles.
The Beatles.
Eagles and Beatles.
Beatles and the Beach Boys.
We went with 2 big-time classics. Do you guys remember, like, I don't know, maybe it wasn't the same when, 10 years previous, but do you remember who Lavelle loved?
Yeah. He loved...
It was country, wasn't it?
Yeah.
No, it was, what's his name?
Country single artist.
Wasn't Elvis?
No, it wasn't Elvis.
No, country singer. I've got it, but I want to see if you guys are. Willie Nelson.
Willie Nelson.
Yeah.
So, and he was true to Willie Nelson forever. He loved Willie Nelson.
Well, you want to hear a good Willie Nelson song? He made one up, said, I'm my own grandpa. So look that one up.
Willie Nelson sang, I'm my own grandpa.
I'm my own grandpa. Look that one up.
Lavelle loved Willie Nelson.
Alan and Marcy with us from Lake Winnipesaukee. Good to have you on the Wise Guys tonight. All
Wait,
right,
wasn't
3.
Lake Winnipesaukee, and what movie was that in?
That wasn't in Groundhog Day.
It was in a Bill Murray movie, though.
Like
Maybe it was in Meatballs or something. I can't remember. Okay, we're back to who do we start with first? We're back to Gary.
It's Gary.
Okay, so favorite breakfast cereal?
Raisin Bran.
All right.
Okay.
And the only reason I like it is because they put a lot of sugar on those raisins. They sugar the raisins.
They hide that, but
they hide it, but there's sugar on the raisins.
Yeah.
Shredded wheat.
Shredded wheat.
Wait.
With like just straight?
Just straight or
With
the
lots
frosted?
of sugar.
Oh, you put.
That's okay.
Who told us?
It's not like bales of haze.
Yeah.
Was it Danny Ainge that said shredded wheat?
Yeah, but his wife doesn't let him put the sugar on.
No, he can't put the sugar on it. Danny just eats the plain.
Yeah.
It's like
It's
bales
like,
of
come
hay.
on.
That's awful.
So why don't you just go graze
No
out
one
in the
should do
backyard
that.
if you're just going to eat it without
No
sugar?
one should do that. All right, so lots of
shredded
sugar.
wheat with lots of sugar. Okay, well now we're with Larry. And this will be a different question, sort of the same, but I want your favorite Gary Sheide moment, and then I'm going to ask you your favorite Larry Carr moment. Your favorite Gary Sheide moment.
ASU drive in the fourth quarter.
Take him down for the win, right? Okay. What about your favorite Larry Carr moment?
You know, I just like Larry. I remember it seemed like so many plays when it got 3rd and 1 or 3rd and less. And I love to see the look on Larry's face. And you could see it a lot of times in the films afterwards, but he was not going to let that running back cross that line of scrimmage. And it wasn't just one particular play. It was every 3rd and close. Larry Carr was not going to let that running back get past
Did
the
he
line
get
of
the big
scrimmage.
eyes like Mike Singletary used to get?
He looked mean.
He looked so nice and friendly.
Oh, those linebackers in the NFL, what they would do is they would grab the running back and they'd say, hold him up. so they wouldn't tackle him. So they'd hold him up so the rest of the team could come in and just pound him and stuff. That's the kind of attitude Larry has. Hold him up.
That's awesome. Hey, by the way, John says that what about Bob was Lake Winnipesaukee.
Oh, Lake Winnipesaukee. What about Bob? Baby steps. That's good. Thanks you for
John.
that. Thanks, John. See, we throw out any question. When we're in 5 continents, somebody comes up with the answer.
Somebody does.
So, okay, last one. And we'll start. Is it Gary first? Yeah, so we'll start with Gary. So, favorite advice from your wife. And yours is Sherry, because I've met Sherry.
Right. Sherry, favorite advice. I received this actually from her father. And the advice was, fill yourself with I'm glad I did's instead of I wish I had's.
Oh, nice.
So in other words, if someone's walking down and they drop something and you go by and you pick it up, well, I'm glad he did that.
Yeah.
Or someone, needs help getting the groceries out of there and you walk right past him. And as you walk past him, you say, well, I wish I'd have helped her. I wish I'd have done that. So if you fill your life with I'm glad I did instead of I wish I had's, I think you'll be successful.
Yeah, have you been doing that?
That's a good one.
I'm trying. That's the motto I try to go by.
That's awesome.
So, Larry, your wife is Lori, right? What's your favorite advice Lori gave you?
And she's here, so you better be careful.
Here. That's an easy one. It comes from her favorite movie, The Princess Bride.
Oh.
Just say, as you wish.
That was the great line when she pushes Wesley off the hill and he's rolling down, and then she recognizes it's him when he says, as you wish, rolling down the hill, right?
Yeah, and that's worked out for you.
That's worked out 54 years.
That's awesome.
Yeah, The Princess Bride.
The 1974 Cougars will be honored in front of a full house Saturday night. We'll be there. Look forward to you'll join us in the pregame show on game day on BYU TV. You guys have deserved it. You earn it. You've earned it. And 50 years afterwards, you're going to get it. We congratulate you both. I'm so glad to have you here on the show and what you've done since football for all of us. Nice job.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you, Blaine, Dave. You guys do a great job as usual, and it's just an honor to be representing the best team that BYU's ever had, the first bowl team.
I love it. Hey, by the way, for
right.
Any of that 1974 team that's out there watching tonight, or if you download this on podcast and you're out riding your bike and listening to it, if you want more information about the weekend events, there's a Facebook page for the 74 football team. So I think you go 1974 BYU football team, you can search that in Facebook, and it'll tell you all of the things that are going on this weekend.
How many teammates do you think you'll have together this weekend?
Boy, I think we're going to have, there's over 100 people. That's including spouses.
Yeah, that's great.
But we have a really good turnout.
That's awesome.
What are you having Friday night? What's on the menu?
Well, we're going to go golfing Friday morning.
Oh, good.
So,
where are you playing? We're not promoting anything, but where are you guys going to play?
Sleepy Ridge.
Okay.
Sleepy Ridge.
All right.
Gary has
Holtz.
hookups at Sleepy Ridge.
Yeah, Golden Holtz.
Is this a tournament?
Yeah, he's
or
got
is it
hookups
just
out
It's a
there.
tournament.
Oh,
They're gonna
sweet.
do a
I'm
little
trying to talk him into doing a scramble.
a scramble?
Yeah, scramble's
I mean,
easy. There's no pressure on
there's
anybody
no
when you play
pressure. It's
scramble.
fun. You don't have to worry about
No.
scores.
Yeah.
Who's the best golfer from the team? Do you know? Gary's pretty good.
Yeah, Giff probably was the best, and Mark Giles was
Giff can play.
good.
Giff's been over in Africa. He just got home last week. He hasn't played a lot of golf,
probably
so he might be a
playing
little
tonight.
bit rusty.
Getting
Yeah,
loose.
he'll still be
You
good.
know, I played golf with Giff at the day before our run test on 1974.
There you go.
And it was me and Gifford against Lavelle and Dick Felt.
And
if we won, we wouldn't have to run.
2-mile run?
Mile and a half, 2 miles, something
Yeah.
like that. And if you don't make the run, you have to get up early and run. Okay?
That's a lot on the line.
And so there was a lot on the line. And I thought I had a ringer in Gifford, but
He let you down?
the last, and Lavelle, the way he is, he's such a coach's player, a player's coach. He tried to give us everything. I mean, he gave us these putts that were 5 feet. He worked so hard to do it, but we missed the birdie putt on the last hole, and we lost. I thought for sure he was going to say, "Oh, that's okay. Don't worry about it." He didn't, and we
He
had to
made you
run, and I didn't make it. Gary didn't make it, and so here are the two of us running early.
Wait, this is the best player on the defense and the best
Yeah.
player on the offense. Didn't
Come
make
on.
the
we didn't
conditioning
make the
test.
run. So that's how we started the 1974 season.
That's
Well,
quite a beginning. That's
By
quite
the way,
a beginning.
I always felt like that 2-mile run was overrated. I was in the transition time when we did it my first couple of years, and then we did like a beep test after that. But I remember my freshman year I came in, And Jim McMahon and Steve Young were on the team. And I'm like, oh, I want to watch this. And we go out on the track in the old stadium, and Steve's literally lapping people in the 2-mile run, like you might expect. Jim's barefooted running on the grass inside the track. I'm thinking to myself, is this okay? Can he just do this? And then when he started to get behind, he just started to cut across the field. And nobody said anything. And I thought, well, I guess if you break 76 NCAA records your junior year, when you're a senior, this is how you do the test. Nobody cared.
By the way, Gifford Nielsen's going to be on Wise Guys on September 16th, and we're going to ask him about that.
Yeah, we'll ask him about the golf match and how he could possibly let Coach Felt and Coach Edwards beat you guys.
I thought I had it.
Well, Gifford's going to say how Larry let him down.
No, we'll see what happens.
see.
No.
Yeah, he's back from Africa now. He's emeritus in his general authority calling, so we can get right to what really happened.
We've been wanting to have him on when he was here before he went to Africa, and you've got to go through all the church's PR. But he said, no, just call me. Let's go.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. Guys, we'll see you on Saturday. Have a great week.
Thank you.
And,
Thank you so
have
much.
fun getting
Thanks
back
so
together.
much, guys. And thanks for all you've done for BYU football and all you're doing in our community to help people, to help kids, to help everyone with what you're doing. You're still doing great things.
Thank you.
Gary Sheide and Larry Carr from the 1974 BYU's first bowl team and first team to get into the AP Top 25. And Saturday night, it'll be quite the scene at LaVelle Edwards Stadium, and it'll be fun to let the fans let them have it, and they've earned it, and
they sure have.
It'll be so cool. All right, you guys are dismissed.
The
Thank
beauty
you.
of this show is, since it's a sponsored show and there's no commercials or anything, it's just so casual. We come in, we come out, we
Blaine's
trade places.
going to go back over there,
it's cash. It's just fun. So
thanks for coming.
Great job, guys.
Great to have you guys here. Next week, Brandon Doman's going to join us, and so is Taggart Barron, the president of BYU Alumni in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. He'll give us the lowdown on all the activities surrounding the BYU SMU game, which is a week from Friday. Derwin Gray's going to join us on September 9th. Gary, thanks, man. We'll see you Saturday. Gary's going to join us on game day. And talk a little bit more about that 74 team on Saturday. And then, as mentioned, Gifford Nielsen's going to be with us on September 16th. That'll be before the Kansas State Big 12 opener, and it'll be great to get Giff's take on the Wyoming game, which will have just been played, and a preview of Kansas State. And that's who we have coming up on the Wise Guys, along with much, much more, which we'll get to you. We'll get to you as we get closer. That was fun. That was old school.
That was really fun to reminisce, and really, truly, BYU's football program was built on the shoulders of those guys, because previous to that, BYU wasn't on the map.
No.
They weren't on the map. 74 put BYU on the map, and they've been on the map ever since. So we all owe a huge thank you to those guys. And you know what? That was a star on offense and a star on defense. Those are the two best players on the team that we just had.
Those are the studs, and that's so nice, so cool. Yeah. So 74, they go to the first bowl game. 84, you guys win the national championship,
right?
Winning the Holiday Bowl, and now we're in 2024, getting ready for the second year in the Big 12. And by the way, it's so cool. Now that week 0 is behind us, it's week 1. Let's go over some notable college football games for this week. Some involving Big 12 teams, some just big because they're on the schedule. And then after that, hang with us because we're going to go over the BYU player list in the NFL and who we think is safe and who we think might be not safe, as cut day is on Wednesday.
Do you know what? And a couple of guys that we wondered about early, looks like they're going to make it, and a couple of guys we thought would make it aren't good.
Cut day is actually tomorrow, so it's the night before cut day.
And you know what happens? Guys get cut.
They get picked up.
And they get picked up, and they get on a practice. I mean, you got to remember guys like Danny Sorensen, who got cut, picked back up, put on a practice squad, back and forth from the practice squad to the team. Next thing you know, he's signing a $16 million 4-year deal, and he's a steady player and played as long as he wanted to and stepped away.
Yeah. So we'll keep you posted on that. But tonight we'll kind of get an idea of who's in and who's trying to stay in. But as far as college football, on Thursday, Southern Utah goes up to Rice-Eccles, and they play the 12th ranked Utes, and that's how 2 Utah teams get going on Thursday.
Yeah, and that's it. I would expect the same things in that game that I expect from the BYU Southern Illinois, although I think Southern Illinois is in a different place than Southern Utah is right now. I think Southern Utah is still trying to build to be that consistent FCS power. So Southern Illinois is a little better challenge for BYU than SUU should be for Utah. But who knows, right?
On Saturday, in addition to Southern Illinois and BYU, here's some of the games that have our attention.
Yeah, Houston Christian's at SMU. I'm really interested to see what SMU looks like in game 2, because for 3.5 quarters, they didn't look that great against Nevada, who was picked last in the Mountain West Conference. So remember, BYU has SMU on September 6th, so that's BYU's next opponent on the road.
Wyoming's at Arizona State. BYU will play in Laramie on September 14th. So just around the corner. I'm curious to see what the Cowboys have.
Yeah, and hey, maybe the marquee game of the week on Saturday is number 14 Clemson at number 1 Georgia.
Yeah, that's big.
It's a great it's ACC versus SEC, but that's a great rival right there.
And anymore, with the 12-team playoff, the loser isn't necessarily
not in that one
dinged in that one.
Right.
But they've got to turn around and win some big games. But the winner is like, hey, we've almost locked up a spot. We just have to survive our league. Here's an interesting one on Saturday. 8th-ranked Penn State is at West Virginia. That's on Fox at 10 in the morning Mountain Time. A couple of guys on ESPN's game day picked West Virginia to win the Big 12. I think they're going to contend. I had them number 2 with Kansas State number 1. But West Virginia could be they were good last year, and they were just getting going.
They had a freshman quarterback that was running all over the place and making plays and looked really good. He's back, Green, right? And then they have 2 good running backs. White is the Lightning, and they have Thunder as well.
And they're big and physical.
And that was, I think it's a toss-up between the two most physical teams BYU played last year, a toss-up between Iowa State and West Virginia. Notice I didn't say Oklahoma State or Oklahoma or Texas. Iowa State or West Virginia. I think West Virginia is going to be better than people think they are. And at their place, they got a shot against Penn State.
Yeah,
that'll be a great one.
I agree.
So number 19, Miami's at Florida. That's always a fun one.
And number 7, Notre Dame is at number 20, Texas A&M.
That's not an easy place to play.
No, but this is one on Sunday I'm really intrigued with.
Yeah. Number 23, USC against number 13, LSU in Vegas.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a track meet.
Yeah, that could be a fun one. So
got the family fantasy draft.
Wait, who's USC got a quarterback now?
I have no idea.
I haven't paid enough attention to USC.
I have no idea, but you got to figure
now that they're in the Big Ten. Is that the weirdest thing ever?
They're going to have track stars at receiver. We know that they do that every year. It's going to be interesting. What do we got? Boyd coming in.
Hey, Boyd, thanks for that.
From Leander, Texas.
And I don't know who Jay is, but Jay says, "Wow, thanks, Jay." Jay says Blaine's the GOAT, best analysis in the biz. When I hear just Jay for a name, I think of Men in Black because he got J and K. So maybe it's Jay.
Hey, you're the GOAT.
Jay
you are the GOAT.
From Men in Black. Thank you, Jay. That's very nice of you.
Let's play Cougars in the NFL, and you can join us on the live stream if you'd like. Safe or not safe? Roster cuts are tomorrow, August 27th.
Summer's so easy.
Fred Warner, safe. Taysom Hill,
safe.
Jamal Williams,
very safe. Those 3 are just like, they're not only are they safe, they're premier players in the league.
Yeah. Samson Nakua.
After his 100 and whatever yard kickoff return, he might have just made himself safe.
You think, are you ready to commit him as safe?
I just remember, I just told the story last week, but where Vi was about to get cut, but he had a big return and he stayed on and he made the Pro Bowl. I'm not saying Samson's going to make the Pro Bowl, but I think that special teams flash might have been the thing.
I hope
He's
so.
borderline, I'm going to say safe.
Kyle Van Noy, safe.
Yeah.
Puka Nakua back at practice today, by the way. He's safe.
We're talking about starters now, right?
Yeah.
In the NFL.
We're just going down the list.
Brady Christensen, safe. Michael Davis, safe.
Tyler Algier,
absolutely safe.
Blake Freeland,
safe. Starter.
Sione Takitaki, Patriots, safe. Keaton Slovis just got cut by the Colts.
Yeah, that was one that surprised me.
Yeah,
but remember what I did say a couple weeks ago. I thought he was going to make the practice squad.
Yeah,
I still think he could get picked up as a practice squad guy and then try to play his way in.
We'll keep you posted on that. Jaron Hall from the Vikings. I kind of moved my thought to safe.
Yeah, because we were iffy because we didn't know what they were going to keep, but he balled out last week.
Yeah, and then they cut one of the guys. I don't know how many they're keeping, but McCarthy's on. He's not playing this year. So there's Dobbins
with McCarthy's injury and the way he played last.
So is Jaron second string?
I'm moving him to straight safe.
Let's move him safe. Zach Wilson. Earlier today, Sean Payton said he's making the 53-man. So that makes him safe.
He's safe. Well,
and you just never know.
Sean Payton was not raving about him in the first couple weeks of camp. But the last 2 weeks of camp, he's been raving about him.
Yeah, and he's played great.
Yeah.
I thought he played great.
He made some great throws.
I would put him as the starter.
I love how people, even some pundits, national pundits, are going, maybe it was the Jets. No kidding.
Yeah, hello.
The Jets are the worst organization in professional sports. Of course it was the Jets.
If I'm John Elway, I'm starting Zach. I'm not starting a rookie. Now, Bo Nix is the future and all that stuff, but we just don't see rookies come flying out of the gate. Bring them along. You don't have to.
Yeah.
You got some guys, but they're gonna start Bo Nix anyway.
Yeah.
Dax Milne, Raiders.
Ooh, that's a hard. Normally we would say safe, but I was surprised the Commanders didn't keep him because he'd been productive, especially in special
And then the Raiders
teams.
picked him up, but I haven't seen much in the preseason.
Yeah, it seems like we haven't seen much.
I
So
think
I don't
that's
know.
unsafe.
That's a question. Hey,
gonna
by the way,
think so.
Les Namengar, a good friend from down in New Mexico, said, I'm not going to lie. I'm looking forward to seeing Caleb Lohner on Thursday for the Utes at tight end.
We'll see how they use him.
Yeah.
If they use him.
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
That's
He's listed,
that's
I think,
tough.
isn't he listed as the 3? I think he's
I'm not
listed.
sure.
I think he's
Aiden
listed as
Robbins of the Browns got cut. Boy, Aiden Robbins could have stayed here for another year. Hopefully he'll get picked up somewhere. Nick Chubb's going to miss the first 4 weeks, so I thought, hey, maybe that's going to open a window.
That might be the
Not
opportunity.
the case. Chris Brooks for the Dolphins, safe or not safe?
He's right on the borderline.
Yeah, I'm going to say unsafe.
But here's the thing.
But he was on the squad last year.
And I think he has a chance, but I also think there's no question he makes the practice squad.
Yeah.
At worst.
Ryan Rico,
Made it.
we're both going safe on that.
Yep.
Max Tooley. Whew. That's a tough one.
That's a hard one. I haven't looked hard enough at the numbers for the
I'm going to say unsafe just because,
Texans.
yeah. He had a good preseason.
And the
Didn't
thing-
see him much in the last
The
game.
thing that can keep him on the team is his ability to play special teams right now.
Yeah. Chris Wilcox of the Panthers feels unsafe. That feels unsafe. Zane Anderson of the Packers.
That feels a little more safe because he has some history.
Yeah.
He made it last year.
Kyrus Tonga of the Cardinals. That's safe.
Yeah.
Caleb Hayes was cut
Got
by the
cut.
Broncos
So
today.
that's unsafe.
Isaac Rex was picked up by the Chargers last week. I didn't see much. I don't even know if he got in the game
So
the
sometimes
other day.
they bring somebody in to say, okay, let's just take a look at this guy. Worst case scenario, we put him on the practice squad. That's how I feel about Caleb Hayes. Because remember, Caleb got cut and picked up and then cut, right? So why do you bring him in the first place if you have numbers at that position? And I think maybe they're taking a look at these guys to say, can they be on the practice squad?
Yeah.
So
Okay. All right. So we got a majority of Cougars are safe, and some are sitting there on the border.
Yeah, we have about-
and we'll know all about
Yeah.
all of them tomorrow.
yeah.
One way or the other.
Remember, season opener Thursday, September 5th. That's Ravens at the Chiefs. So Kyle Van Noy, Andy Reid. Hey, by the way, Andy Reid's safe.
Andy Reid's safe.
He's safe.
Van Noy safe. By the way, you can,
Can we
see
say
our
Andy's safely first ballot Hall of Famer?
our Kyle Van Noy interviews at ysguys.com
And Andy Reid.
and Andy Reid. So you can watch both of them. That could be your pregame show on Thursday. Let's do some basketball news. Marriott Madness, we just got a text from the basketball department, October 3rd, 7 p.m. That's a chance to get in and see the guys running around.
Yep.
Not sure exactly what it's going to entail, but the Marriott Center will be open. The team will be there 7 p.m. on October 3rd.
Yeah. Hey, one of our old Zuby says, you should interview Elder Vi Sikahema and Glenn Kozlowski together on your show. They were hilarious together on the 84 Union show. And you can go to the archives. We've had Vi and Glenn.
We had Vi and Steve together, and then
Right.
we had enough of Steve, and then we were just with Vi.
We were Vi for a while.
Because we started with Steve. And then
Steve
we've
Young.
had Glenn.
When we say Steve, we just mean Steve Young.
Yeah, sorry about that. And then we had Glenn, and that was
And he
awesome.
was great. Yeah, he was great.
He's still doing stuff with the Bears, which is great.
Yeah. So
College Basketball Report retweeted or tweeted out a list of schools with the best NIL via a CBS Sports Poll, which CBS then put out again today. The best basketball teams as far as NIL, they have Arkansas number 1. That's where Calipari went. Kansas number 2, and they have BYU number 3.
which is here was the interesting thing. They say best basketball NIL. When they say best, are they saying they have the biggest fund? Because BYU certainly doesn't. You and I had lunch with Kevin Young. When do we have that?
Last week.
Yeah, last week. And Kevin said it's interesting that they're talking about BYU in that top 5 with NIL programs, and he says it's a compliment. He's certain that BYU's not just outspending people, but he loves the way, both in football and basketball, BYU is selling more than just the dollars. They're selling networking. They're selling helping these guys get companies started. They're talking about all of those kinds of things as a package. And he feels like they're very competitive. But he says, we're certainly don't have a war chest to go just say we're just going to outbid people, and they don't want to do that.
Yeah, it's kind of PR that's great that you didn't start.
Right.
And you don't have to actually say, well, here's our war chest. You just go,
Right.
Well, you guys have us number 3? Interesting. They might not even be close to number 3, but they're competitive.
Well, and here's the thing. They may not be close to number 3 with the pure dollars they're paying out.
Yeah.
But maybe the way they're managing it and the way they're selling their program is top 3. You'd have to give them credit for.
Absolutely.
You get Yegor Dimon and you get Cannon Catchings and now you've got the number 1 player in the country on campus. Like, when does the number 1 player in the country come to BYU's campus?
Never.
Before.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah. And
Right.
they got a legitimate shot at that kid.
Yeah.
In their poll, so they had BYU at 3, Kentucky was 4, and Indiana was 5. Now you sit there and go, what is BYU doing in the list with Kansas, Kentucky, and Indiana? They're competing is what they're doing.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And you know what? You know what I loved about what Kevin said when we had a chance to be there with him? He loves his situation at BYU because they're going to go out and do their best to get a couple of these high level players that are such high level that they're predicted to be 1 and dones or 2 and dones.
Yeah.
Right? NBA first round draft picks. And he says the nice part about BYU is they're also going to focus on the LDS community around the world and the top LDS kids. He says we're always going to have a core of return missionary, solid, really good players. And he goes, that balance of experience and talent on the floor together can produce Final Four teams.
Yeah. And for everybody saying, hey, why doesn't BYU recruit Europe? Well, we're in Europe.
Yeah, they're in Europe. They're everywhere. They're in Europe, they're in Australia, they're in New Zealand, they're everywhere.
Hey, this thing came out the other day, which livens up Thanksgiving dinner.
Right.
BYU and Ole Miss are going to play in San Diego, 3:30 Mountain Time on FS1. We all get FS1.
What time do you guys do Thanksgiving dinner?
It seems like we eat around 2. Sometime, and Cowboys are on, and now there's going to have to be a split screen.
So why do we do that on Thanksgiving? Because we do the same thing. Like, do you guys all do that out there?
I'd like to eat earlier, but it takes a while for everyone to get there.
But why isn't Thanksgiving dinner at dinner time? Why is it in the middle of the afternoon?
Because we like to make it all day long.
So
Because then you eat, and then you watch games, and then
you eat leftovers.
Then you have leftovers, and then you have pie.
So as they say in The Hobbit, firsties and secondsies and that kind of stuff. So you have breakfast in the morning, and then you have the big meal in the middle of the day, and then you just munch.
Just keep eating. And then you have turkey sandwiches at like 10 at night. But now we got to work in. There's a triple header of the NFL. Now you got to work in the Cougar basketball team.
I guess I understand it now. now you've brought some light to
Think
me.
of it as
that I
all
understand.
day.
So,
It's and none of it's great for your health, but it's all day
Yeah.
on Thanksgiving. BYU and Ole Miss. By the way, win or lose, they're going to play either Purdue or NC State the next day.
Right.
That's a big 2-day swing.
Speaking of basketball, as if the Big 12 is not good enough now in basketball, there's more Big 12 expansion talks underway to bring UConn into the Big 12 as early as 2026 in basketball.
Yeah.
2031 in football. They have to do some things in football to qualify in football.
Get a crowd and
Yeah.
all
What do
that
you think?
stuff.
Is this good?
You know,
It's the dominant basketball program in the country the last 10 years.
if it puts BYU in a better spot to be whatever is next, right? So if the Super League's coming or whatever puts BYU in a better position to have a better future, I'm all for playing UConn twice and Kansas and Houston and Arizona. That's not good for anybody, but it's exciting for the fans.
Man, yeah.
And if UConn, they won the last 2 national titles, right? They're going to have to come to Provo if unless there's like 500 teams in the league.
Yeah.
At some point, you're going to get a piece of them. They're going to get a piece of you. But I'll tell you what I do like. I like Brett Yormark and going, I'm always going to do what's going to make our league better. And he does that. He's always out talking to people.
Yeah.
And you know what? Now people are saying, well, it's not just UConn. Hang on a sec. Keep your eye on.
What about Clemson and Florida State?
Keep your eye on those 2 guys. And you know what he's doing? Keeping his eye on those guys.
Right, and he's
so we
having
don't have to.
conversations. He's in the conversation with them. He's constantly in conversations with folks. He's constantly thinking outside of the box.
Yeah.
He's a visionary, and that's what you need as a commissioner in these days.
All that is such good news for teams that are in
Right.
Just think if BYU was still out and all these things were going on without them, and not even being
would it be
considered.
miserable or what?
I mean, Boise State, Gonzaga.
I would hate our show if that was the case.
Yeah. But that's not the case in the Big 12, so we'll keep you posted on that. In soccer, BYU number 4, the new poll comes out tomorrow. They are now 1-0-2. They went on the road last week, and they had a couple of ties at number 23. Wisconsin. No, they beat Wisconsin.
Oh, that's right.
Number 23. Hang on, I'll think about it because I left it off the list. I somehow deleted that. They played 1-1 at Long Beach State, and then 1-1 draw at St. Louis, who was number 23.
That's right.
And so now they're 1-0-2. Well, they haven't got any losses, but they're still trying to find their offense.
Yeah.
But boy, they've got a big one this week.
Yeah, number 4 BYU's at number 6 UCLA. And it's on the Big 12 or the Big 10 network.
And
it's so
UCLA's
weird.
bugged
The Big
at
10
us.
network.
They're bugged.
Yeah, they came in as the number 1 team in the country last year to Provo, and BYU thumped them.
Yeah, 3-1.
So they've got to be thinking payback.
So not only did they thump them, they took their number 1 ranking.
Right.
And BYU is number 1.
And BYU deserved it. They eventually made the College Cup, which UCLA did not.
So the Cougars
and John just hit us up with St. Louis after you
thanks,
came to the
John.
top of your head. John hit us with that. So
they're going to take a team that plays defense and is trying to find their offense into UCLA. UCLA's 4-0. We'll see what happens.
Right.
Saturday, Utah State is at BYU. That's at 8:00 Mountain Time on ESPN Plus, right in the middle of the football game.
yeah, interesting that they sometimes there's 3 sports all going on at the same time on campus, which is crazy. So women's volleyball is number 16 in the country. They're always ranked. One of the most consistent programs in the country.
It's like
Friday,
189 straight polls.
yeah, and if you didn't get the chance to see Heather Olmstead on our show, she was fantastic. Go find the link. Friday, Southeastern Louisiana's at BYU at noon Mountain Time.
They're playing twice on Friday.
Oh, that's right, because they play
It's
Fairfield.
this little tournament they got going on.
Yeah, so you play 2 games in a day. So they play at noon against Southeastern Louisiana, and then they play at night at 7:00 Mountain Time against Fairfield. And then Saturday, High Point is at BYU at 7 p.m. So there we go. 3 sports all going on at the same time.
All on ESPN Plus, those volleyball games.
So you can flick back and forth during timeouts.
Yeah, and it's not often we have football, volleyball, and basketball all
All at the
going
same
on
time.
at home.
Right.
On the same day, the same time, but that's what we have.
Yep.
Welcome to our life.
Yep.
On this day, on August 26th, there's some interesting things that happen. Let's roll out with this.
Yeah, let's start in
This is some of the best parts of our show.
in 1682. Let's start in 1682.
Let's go way back.
So Sir Edmund Halley, the astronomer, he first observes the comet that would be named after him, Halley's Comet.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
we saw it, and then somehow
1682.
he got the name for it.
Because he's the first one to ever see it and recognize it.
And someone would say, are you sure you saw it? Yeah, I saw it. It's mine.
Yeah,
It's
that's all
not
you
my
do.
comet.
In astronomy, that's all
It's
you do.
coming back. 1873, the first free kindergarten class opens in a suburb of St. Louis.
St. Louis.
St. Louis.
So in 1968, and this is important because remember, Gary told us that his favorite band
It's the Beatles.
is the Beatles. So the Beatles hit song Hey Jude was released in the United States.
In 1990, on this day, Bo Jackson hit his 4th of his 4 consecutive home runs. So they weren't 4 in all one game. It was 4 at-bats, 4 home runs, and on this day, he hit the 4th.
Is he the freakiest athlete of all
I
time?
think so.
Because what he could do, he wasn't just into professional sports. He was an all-star
Yeah.
into professional sports. Danny Ainge is one of the greatest athletes of all time.
Right.
Playing professional baseball and professional basketball.
But I think even he would tip his cap.
But I think Danny would go, yeah, Bo Jackson's a freak, right?
Mm-hmm.
So 2004, the U.S. women's soccer team wins the gold medal in Athens with a 2-1 win over Brazil.
2023, on this day, last year, the longest alligator ever recorded in Mississippi is caught in the Sunflower River, 14 feet 3 inches, weighed 802.5 pounds. Note to self, never go swimming in the Sunflower River.
Are you kidding me? An 800-pound alligator.
I can't even imagine. Wow. How about the 14 feet?
That's scary.
Yeah.
And those things move faster than you think.
Yeah.
So
You know what? I like watching the nature shows and stuff. And if you watch those long enough, or they're in your algorithm and you're on your phone, you would think there's no zebras alive. Because every time you flip your phone
they just
on,
eat 'em.
they're chopping down. You're like, are there any zebras left?
are they crocodiles or alligators that eat them?
Well, I think crocodiles.
Yeah.
It just depends on They both eat stuff, but
And I'm not sure I know the difference between a crocodile and an alligator.
well, I think they live in different spots. One can deal with salt water. All I know is they're over there in the Serengeti. They're just it's a wonder there's a
something's
zebra.
eating them. So
It's like a free for all.
let's do birthdays.
Let's do it.
On today, August 26th, 1910, Mother Teresa,
1970, Melissa McCarthy.
and 1980, Macaulay Culkin. That's Kevin from Home Alone, of course.
Yeah,
Are we talking Melissa McCarthy, like the funny comedian?
Yeah.
Oh, she's funny.
she's funny, but you got to beep out half the stuff.
Oh yeah, she's funny, but she's foul.
Those who passed on this day, deaths on August 26, 1974. Charles Lindbergh, first to fly solo across the Atlantic.
1986, Ted Knight, the actor.
He was so good.
Yeah, he was great.
the
Mary
judge
Tyler Moore.
in Caddyshack.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. One of my favorite lines from that is, he says, "Hey, you should play us. I mean, Judge Smales is club champion 3 years in a row, and I'm no slouch." Chevy Chase says, "Hey,
Judge.
don't underestimate yourself, Judge. You're a tremendous slouch."
Bob Barker passed away on this day last year. From
Price is
Price
Right.
is Right.
Yeah.
Our Wise Guys inspirational quote of the week is from Mother Teresa.
Yeah. Mother Teresa said, "The hunger for love is much more difficult to remove than the hunger for bread."
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Well said. We thank Gary Sheide and Larry Carr. 50th anniversary of BYU's bowl season celebrated Saturday night at Lavelle Edwards Stadium. The whole team will be there. It'll be an awesome sight. We had some great stories, some great insights. Both of them have done so many important things in the world beyond
Yes.
football.
Oh, yeah, making the
with
world a
how
better
they've
place.
influenced folks, and that was great. And if you want to hear it again, it's right here for you at wiseguys.com.
Right. Hey, next week, Brandon Doman is going to join us on the show, and he'll break down how the quarterbacks played in the first. I said, did you hear me say quarterbacks? I'm just assuming two are going to play in the game.
And remember when Brandon was on our show last time, we said, hey, who do you think's going to
He
be the
thought Gary.
quarterback? He said Gary Bohannon.
So if it's not Gary, we'll ask him what changed, and we'll ask him how they played. I assume two are going to play.
I do too.
So, and then Taggart Barron's going to be with us, the BYU alumni director from the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and we're going to talk about what's going on down in the Dallas-Fort Worth area for the SMU game the following Friday night.
Feels like we're going to have a big crowd at that game.
Yeah, I feel like there is going to be too. It's a
Anybody
fun
can
stadium.
get a ticket.
It's a bowl, all chairs, like it's a really nice stadium there.
Tomorrow night, we'll see you on After Further Review at 5 o'clock Mountain Time on the BYU TV app. And starting tomorrow and throughout the rest of the season, or the season hasn't started, but our season started last month, we're also on ESPN+.
Right. So, and we're going to preview the game for you tomorrow. Talk about that. So, game day Saturday, 4 o'clock. Make sure you check us out. 5 p.m. No, it's 4 p.m. Mountain Time.
That's when we start.
Right, on the BYU TV app. That's also on ESPN Plus.
Yeah.
Right, so BYU TV app and ESPN Plus. We're starting at 4. The game kicks off at 6. Come on, let us take you into the game. We're going to take you inside the stadium. We're going to take you into Cougar Canyon and come join us. If you can't be there in person, make sure you're there with us. And if you're there in person, come over by the set. Have some fun with us.
We might give you a football or something.
We might have you involved in the demo with us.
Chase Roberts will be with us. We'll also hear from Kalani Sitake and much more on game day, BYU TV's game day on Saturday. So the week is finally here. We hope you have a great one. I love the fact that games start showing up on Thursday, and then it's just wall to wall. And we'll see you at the stadium on Saturday night. Remember, Wise Guys is presented by Brady Plus, and of course back here next week and every week on our big show.
That's right. We'll see you tomorrow night on AFR.
You're going to see a lot of us in the
Yes.
next little bit. See ya.